Hey, what's going on, guys? If you guys have seen on the news lately, North Korea launched a rocket, some rockets into South Korean towns on the western side of South Korea, and North Korea is blaming South Korea for a lot of this stuff. They blame South Korea and the United States throughout their history for all the problems that North Korea has had, and that's just simply not true. And it's very hypocritical because North Korea has been launching propaganda into South Korea for a very long time, but then South Korea does it, North Korea considers it provocative. It's just simply not true. Okay, this is where it's North Korea's fault, okay? North Korea blames the United States for where their main military base is in Seoul. Let me explain why it's there. Okay, it is there because when the U.S. got to Korea between 1945 and 1950, I'm not talking about the Korean War. I'm talking about when North Korea became North Korea and South Korea became South Korea. Okay? The United States did not have time to construct a new army base because North Korea had a scary leader, Kim Il-sung, who did nothing more than want to attack South Korea, and make South Korea's population subservient to him. Okay, during the Korean War, when North Korea invaded and conquered Seoul, they massacred 25,000 people in a matter of 3 months. 25,000 people in 3 months, okay? The U.S. was very well that was going to happen if they did not just put their soldiers at whatever army base they could at the time. And yes, the main U.S. Army base in Seoul was used by Japan during the occupation force, but because of Kim Il-sung's brutality and Kim Il-sung's evil sense of mind, evil state of mind, the United States did not have time to construct a new military base elsewhere. It's not the U.S.'s fault, it's North Korea's fault. And North Korea, what they would do is in May, before they invaded South Korea in June of 1950, what they would do in May is that they would, what they would do is they launched a lot of propaganda about land reform and everything else, but that was just to try to make South Korea's population not resist the invasion. As soon as North Korea got down to South Korea, they conscripted South Koreans into the North Korean army, and a lot of times they didn't have guns. They just gave them grenades and sometimes no weapons and just had them charge American or South Korean military lines. Just used them as human sacrifices, human shields. They would do that too. So a lot of North Korea's problems do not belong to the United States. They do not belong to South Korea. Okay. The third thing is they'll talk about how many South Korean soldiers they shot suspected communist sympathizers, or some citizens they suspected as communist sympathizers. Well, a lot of what North Korea would do to the communist sympathizers is some of these women would pretend they're pregnant, and they would have a radio underneath their shirt, and they would use that radio to tell the North Koreans key U.S. soldier positions and key South Korean soldier positions. So the South Korean soldiers, by and large, didn't know who the enemy was. I mean, they didn't know who the enemy was because North Korea disguised themselves all the time. Sometimes they would go as far as dressing as South Korean soldiers, as they did in the first battle between the North Koreans and the Americans in the Battle of Osan. That happened. American and South Koreans started questioning these people supposedly dressed as South Korean soldiers as having the Battle of Osan. You can find this in a book called The Korean War by British historian Max Hastings. And the South Koreans discovered these were North Koreans dressed as South Korean soldiers. As soon as the South Koreans found that out, these soldiers ran. That happened. Also, that's how many prisoners, many civilians became prisoners of war to North Korea in the Tiger Death March. A lot of aid workers took South Korea during that time. They got to some South Korean soldiers. They thought they were safe, but these were not South Korean soldiers. These were North Koreans dressed as South Korean soldiers, and they handed them over to North Koreans, and they handed them over to a very brutal North Korean prison warden. He was in the North Korean military, but he was a warden of the POW camp, and his name was Tiger. And the reason he was nicknamed Tiger was not because he was tough; it was because he was so brutal and so cruel, like an animal tiger is when he eats his prey. So, anyway, hope everybody's doing well. Take care, and God bless South Korea. God bless the United States. Take care. God bless, and bye bye. Bye bye.